Start us off by telling us your name and talking about where you're currently living.
Okay. My name is Jack, and currently living on the Upper West Side in New York City. Moved here from Montgomery, Alabama, where I was born and raised. And after 68 years, decided it was time to move on to bigger and better things. And New York's about as big and better as you can get.
Wow, nice. What about your experience living in New York made you want to reach out to us for this interview?
I just thought it might be interesting to you as someone who was not a native New Yorker and who kind of moved here. And so I'm kind of giving you an outsider's view of New York. I assure you that an insider's view of New York would be entirely different. But if you like, I can give you just a little quick background on how we ended up in New York City. My wife and I have been coming here for, I don't know, 20 years or more for vacations, particularly at Christmas and Thanksgiving. And along the way, and we just love it. I mean, the city is just amazing. As soon as you walk off the plane, the energy level goes up through the roof. So we thought about it, and it was like, wouldn't it be great to live here for a year and just see all of the things that go on throughout the year instead of just, 3 or 4 days at a time. And we, kind of toyed with the idea. It's like, there's no way we could ever do that. But anyway, we got to be older and got to be closing in on retirement. And so we said, well, let's go for a week and rent a 1-bedroom apartment and see if we can live in a 1-bedroom apartment. And because we had like a 2,500 4-bedroom house, so we came up here, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, rented a VRBO 1-bedroom apartment, just a half a block off of Central Park West. And it was fabulous. We had never, in all of our times coming to New York, we had never really been to the Upper West Side. And so, I mean, the first night we were here, it was freezing cold. Wind was blowing 50 miles an hour. We asked the manager of the apartments, we're starving. We're going to get something to eat. Because just go up a block and down a block, great Italian restaurant. So, I mean, I thought my ears were going to fall off. It was so cold. When we walked in, and the place was packed, and it was mostly people our age. I mean, there's a whole group of about 10 people sitting at one table, and everybody was laughing and drinking wine and having fun. I thought, this is pretty cool. So we spent our week here. About Wednesday, we said, this is something we should do. And we went back home and started punching the numbers. My wife, actually, I think she went back home and asked Human Resources when was the first day she could retire. And they told her. And she said, okay, that's it. So we started planning. And between the maintenance on a house and the insurance and 2 cars and insurance and maintenance and keeping up the yard, and, just everything is like, we can afford to live in New York City for the same amount of money we're paying for this giant house. And we were ready to downsize, extremely downsize. And we thought, well, if we're going to downsize, let's go somewhere fun and do it. So we set a date, and we sold both of our cars. We sold our house. We had an estate sale and sold everything we owned except for a few minor treasures, which are in a 10 by 10 storage unit still in Montgomery, Alabama. We packed up the smallest U-Haul van you could with some Oriental rugs and some artwork and dishes and clothes and moved to New York City. And the idea was when we get to New York, we'll just, buy some cheap furniture or whatever that we can just put it on the street, walk away, and don't have to worry about moving it again. So that was our plan. So we moved to New York on April the 1st of 2019, I guess it was, and ended up signing a 2-year lease, which worked out really well because the second year turned into COVID from hell. So, so we spent COVID year in our 1-bedroom apartment and survived with our dog. And so anyhow, that's kind of the story of how we got to where we are. And we just absolutely love where we are. The people are just fantastic. People talk about how cold New Yorkers are, and they're just always rude. And no, not true. Friendliest people I've ever met in my life, and they'll do anything to help you. If you're standing on the corner looking at your phone trying to figure out which way to go, somebody will come and go, "What are you trying to find?" And so it's really been a fantastic experience. We've been here now 2.5 years. We have friends in our favorite restaurants that know us by name now, and we've met some lovely people and had some great experiences. And it's a bit expensive, but outside of that, it's perfect. And so that's the short version of a long story.
Great. Yeah, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing. What is
Yeah.
it specifically about New York that you love? What is it that keeps you here?
I think it's the people and the energy and the diversity. You walk down the street and you hear all these different languages, and none of which I understand, but you can kind of tell what they're talking about by the way that they're looking at their kid or whatever. But so, it's absolutely totally different than Alabama, and the people, everybody is just taking care of themselves, but if they see somebody else that needs help, they're there to help their neighbors also. Our location is just amazing. We're like 1 block away from the 1 train, which we can go up and down the island on the 1 train and then take shoots off of there. The crosstown bus to get to the east side is 1 block away, and then when it comes back, it drops us off right at the corner of our apartment. So transportation is not a problem. It would be nice to have a car just to get out of the city, but the hassles of having a car in New York are not worth, the convenience of it, unless you're quite wealthy and can put in a parking lot somewhere, which we are not. So that's good. The healthcare here has been fantastic. We have seen a number of doctors, and they are all very attentive and professional, and seem truly interested in our care. I actually had a surgery like the first year I was here, and that was fine, and just a minor thing. And so that's part of it. The food is fantastic, needless to say, and you can have any kind of food you want. Just walk down the block, and if you don't see something there, you will in the next block. And it's amazing. The thing about the food is there are no fat people in New York City because everybody walks everywhere. I mean, it's just the standard. It's either walking or bicycling, one of the two. And what is amazing is when you go to the restaurants, they serve you these huge portions, and it's like, oh my God, I could eat that in 3 days. But it always makes for good leftovers when you go home, and it's always delicious. But you can, as far as the cost of food, you can go to a little pizza shop on the corner and get a sandwich, for $5 and a drink or something. Or you can go to a fine restaurant and spend $350. So, and everything in between. But it doesn't matter which one you choose, it's going to be very good. New Yorkers like to eat, and they like to eat good food. And so that's another thing that we really like. And I'm probably rambling on, and I probably lost the, the original question. But anyway, so that's part of it. We're fortunate. Last year, after the COVID thing started settling down and people started coming back to the city, rents started coming down some. So we looked at several different apartments, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. We were looking for 2 bedrooms so that we could get our storage room stuff to New York City, but we just couldn't find a 1 bedroom that lived as comfortably as ours does. It's we actually have just 2 rooms instead of the kitchen is just along the wall of the family room, so you don't lose them. It's not all chopped up into like kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. It's just 2 rooms, and so with that and the location, we have a dog. We're 1 block from Riverside Park. We walk him 3 times a day. We're 3 blocks from Central Park. We can take him over there and let him run around. And we are like, you can get on the crosstown bus and we'll drop you off right at the corner of the Metropolitan Museum. It's just, it's just an amazing place to be.
Great. Yeah. That's amazing. It's good to hear that you're having such a good time.
I know.
On the flip side, what are some things that you wish were different or that maybe you could live without about the city?
Well, I have to confess, New York City, people think of New York City as one big city, but it's really not. The Upper West Side is totally different from, say, Soho or the East Village or Brooklyn or Queens or Astoria. The street that we live on was designated residential like back in the early 30s. So there's nothing but apartments and churches and schools. So it's quiet, but we can walk 1 block and be on Broadway. And it's Broadway, but Broadway runs from the bottom of the island to the north of the island. So when you say Broadway, everybody thinks of Times Square and all that. It's not like that. It's just a 4-lane road where we are. So that, since we don't have a car, we don't have to worry about traffic. And people are always fussing about the traffic in New York. And if I had to work and drive a car, I would be fussing about the traffic in New York as well. So about the only thing that doesn't disturb me, it's you pay for what you get, is the rent is outrageous. You have, depending on what neighborhood you live in and what kind of apartment you get, your rent can be just exorbitant to reasonable. By New York standards, reasonable. We're paying more for our 1-bedroom apartment than our house payment was for our house in Montgomery. But so that's the only thing. It is expensive to live here, but like I say, you get what you pay for, and so you just have to budget. We're living on fixed income, so we know how much money is coming in every month and what we can spend, and so. But we've been here for 2.5 years, and so far it's worked out okay.
Great. Would you, if somebody was thinking about moving to New York, do you have any advice you would offer them?
If you are older and thinking of retirement, the Upper West Side is unbelievable. Your doctor, your grocery store, your drugstore, anything, your vet, anything you need is within 10 blocks at the most of wherever you are on the Upper West Side. And the healthcare is excellent, as I said. If I was the downtown New York, like Times Square or below, it's much more for the younger crowd, the young up and coming people. It's more fast paced. a little crazy. We go downtown, to go to a restaurant. We immediately get on one train and come back to the West End where it's nice and quiet. But for a young person, and I know have several friends back in Montgomery whose children have moved to New York and have done very well, have gotten really great jobs, like working at Madison Square Garden or working for a film company or something. And so if I were a younger person, I would definitely consider moving here, realizing that you may have 6 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment because you can't afford anything else. But you got a place to sleep and a shower, and you got the nightlife of New York City. So anyway, I'm sure I lost your question again, but what is bad about New York City? I can't think of anything that's just so terrible. I would stay here the rest of my life if I could afford it. I think there are people who there are people much older than me, which is saying a lot. But I see them in Riverside Park, which just runs along the Hudson River, and there are little old ladies with their walkers. There are people with canes. There's older couples, holding hands and walking. So it's elder friendly, shall we say, and it's peaceful, and there are dogs and kids everywhere. So it's on the Upper West Side. Seems very family friendly, because everybody has at least 2 and sometimes 3 or 4 kids. And the cutest thing of all is all the schools, like the preschools, come to Riverside Park, and each school has their own little color vest or whatever. So you see this group of like 12 to 20 little kids, and they've all got their little vests on, and they're all holding onto the rope, and they're walking through Central Park. It's just like the cutest thing in the world, So it's, the pluses, for whatever minuses there are, the pluses so far outweigh the distractions. Now, if I was working here, I might have a different take on it, but as far as not having to work and to be able to just enjoy the city, it is just everything that we had hoped it would be and more. It's fantastic.
Great. That's good to hear. And in this process of moving from Alabama to New York and all that, has Best Places helped you in any significant way?
Well, it was before I knew about Best Places. But now, having lived here 2.5 years, we are considering moving somewhere a little less expensive. Now, it may just be outside of New York, or it may be, I don't know, North Carolina or somewhere. I won't make any negative comments about where I wouldn't go. So I do use Best Places to explore the country, and to try to get some idea. Like, I'll just think of a city and I'll just go on Best Places and see what you guys have to say about it. And so in that light, yes, I do use Best Places. It will play a big part in where we go next, I think, as far as giving us some general idea. And if we can learn about it on Best Places, then we can go there for a visit and kind of see how everything plays out.
Great. Good to hear.
Okay.
Well, those are all of my questions today. It was great talking to you. Before we sign off, is there anything else you want to share?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
John Lennon loved New York City, and I couldn't find my "I Love New York City" T-shirt. It must be in the wash or something. No, I just people who have never been to New York City, I'm sure, hear horror tales about it. And when I was younger, I heard the horror tales. And I thought, oh, I would never ever go to New York City. And now that I'm here, it's like, you don't understand. It's not that way. It's like, it depends on where you are. There's some bad places in New York City, I'm sure. I don't go there. So, but just if you just want to have fun and meet interesting people and have the arts and music and food, good food and all those things available to you, you couldn't find a better place. We didn't have the money to travel the world, so we come to New York and the world comes to us. I mean, you go to a Greek restaurant, the staff is all Greek. You go to an Indian restaurant, the staff is all Indian. So it's just fantastic.
Great. Glad to hear it.
Okay.
Thanks so much for chatting with us today. It was great to get this perspective and talk to you.